Bob, why are you standing in the stone troll's stone? Bob, what are you doing? Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today we're having a video all about Bob, specifically versus Undead. So a lot of people have been theorizing that his AoE immune to psychology would be very helpful against Undead factions, and well, that certainly is the case. I wanted to go ahead and do a couple of test builds here, so we're going up against Hadriz. He was kind enough to play Undead against me a few times, which is not something that I enjoy, so props to him for sticking with me through that. Yeah, I had to play this one a few times, but I wanted to start with this one because we've got Skarsnik here, we've got Bob, we've got Stone Trolls, all of which are very relevant against Vampire Coast. So Stone Trolls, obviously, with their missile resistance, are going to be very good here. Bob gives them a bit more melee attack and immune to psychology, obviously, so they don't get spooked by big scaries. He will do the same for Skarsnik as well, and Skarsnik, one of his main downsides is his lack of immune to psychology. The fact that he has his AoE anti-large also synergizes well with the trolls, and of course that fungi can shut things down very efficiently. We've got a River Troll Hag for the caster. A couple of Squig Hoppers, because they're immune to psychology, can kind of act independently. A Docker line of Error Boys, some Gobos up front, and Fanatics in the second line. And yeah, as for Hadriz, Vampire Coast, he's got Harkon leading the way, a giant enemy crab, a caster crab as well, some sirens, and dogs on both sides. Actually, no, just the dogs on this side. And then he's got handgun mobs, some bomber mobs, and polearms up front. So yeah, the idea here is I'm going to use the Squig Hoppers because they have immune to psychology and anti-infantry. They're going to trade actually very well with the Sirens despite their physical resistance. We throw a Spirit Leech over there just for a little bit of extra damage. And of course, the immune to psychology means those Squig Hoppers won't run away immediately to the Sirens, which is quite nice. Looks like Harkon's going to come land over here. Also, a quick Invocation of the Heck to bail those Sirens out, so I'm going to go ahead and pull away there, but we've also got the Trolls kind of moving over to start engaging. Likewise, the Docker line all firing in at the Fleet Captain here. Unfortunately, the Sirens and the dogs and stuff are going to do enough damage to just rout some of the Squigs. The Durkit Squigs actually managed to hold their leadership here long enough for the Stone Trolls to get in melee. Yeah, again, the Stone Trolls have high enough weapon damage that they'll just be able to straight up deal with the Sirens, but here, actually peel these units off to go after the Rotting Leviathan. In the front line, the Bombers are doing their thing, but the Gobbles are just kind of buying time more than anything, and we're going to throw that Assault of Stone from... I thought we were going to throw that Assault of Stone from the River Troll Hag. Looks like it actually failed to go off there. But then Wah gets popped all across the field, giving that immune psychology just map-wide, which is great. Here, the Stone Trolls, they're holding their leadership. Spite of the Bad Moon does give them anti-large and up to 181 weapon damage, so they are hitting this Rotting Leviathan super hard. And I used the Fungi on the Fleet Captain here. Now, I did mention we had to replay this matchup a few times, and that was mostly because I was making some pretty terrible mistakes. But definitely you want to prioritize the caster in this situation. Previously, I'd lost because I was trying to use those sniping tools on Harkon, and because he's so tanky, he just, yeah, he got not killed, and I ended up pouring way too many resources into him. So here I figured I would get rid of the caster first. Unfortunately, though, Bob gets wrecked by Harkon in melee, which leads to the trolls then getting terrified. Skarsnik's able to hold the line for the time being, and Bob will return to the fight, but he definitely took a beating there from Harkon. He's a pretty tanky melee character, but against somebody top tier like Harkon, especially with that the Hornswoggle, it'll be pretty good. That being said, my goblins have bought me enough time in the front line. They've kind of traded okay with these zombies, and especially now that the reserve Fanatics are moving in, starting to utilize their Fanatics, which I haven't really, you know, been highlighting too much. It is going to be very strong. We'll be able to kind of beat back this zombie tide and at least trade evenly with them, which is really the most I can ask for. You can see Bob's coming back from route here. One of the trolls routes off the side, but one of the trolls will stay, and the two Squig Hoppers are also still hanging around as well. So we've got a strong little pocket here to help defend against this gooning attempt. Here comes Harkon. He's going to drop on Bob. But here I'm going to get some really lucky RNG. I mean, Bob's got 55 melee defense, 44 melee attack for Harkon, so he only has about, what, like a 20% chance to hit, 25% chance to hit or so. But he misses quite a few melee attacks here on Bob. Like, that one's a miss. Bob took no damage there. And the next few melee attack animations, you can see Bob basically taking no damage from that. So the high melee defense of Bob definitely holding out. Once that Hornswaggle's active, then he's going to take a lot more consistent hits. But now Skarsnik and the Stone Trolls are all involved. Now, Immune to Psychology comes in absolutely massive here against a heavy target like Harkon. You can see here we're getting the 8-peak loons, and there's the decisive blow. The last fermented fungi, Mither, also pinning Harkon in and allowing me to finish him off. So, yeah, Bob, although he took a beating there, he's tanky enough that as long as Harkon's not got the Hornswaggle or his charge active, then he can, you know, resist those hits. He can stand and fight with a lot of lords in the game in the sustained combat, as long as he's not getting cycle charged. Although I will say, he's a little bit too slow to keep up with the boars on foot. They're about 50 speed. I think he's like at 30-something, so I would definitely recommend putting him on the boar so that he can keep up with the Stone Trolls in hindsight. But at the same time, him being on foot does make him not subject to anti-large, and also, obviously, he can kind of just run around with Skarsnik, sort of act as his bodyguard in a way. But yeah, great game to Hadris. I've got another one to show you from him. And yeah, for me, I mean, the Stone Troll's definitely a solid pick. I honestly think after the changes, after the most recent update, Greenskins have an advantage in this matchup, which might be the first time they've had a clear advantage against an Undead faction. Even though it took me a few times to get this build right, that was mostly due, again, to my own mistakes. And I did learn a few things as well as we sort of fine-tuned this build. Originally, I had Spider Riders rather than the Squig Hoppers, but specifically, I found that Sirens and Dogs both, right? Because Scurvy Dogs and Sirens both count as infantry, and because the Squig Hoppers are immune to Psychology, they trade very well with both of these kind of mobile units, somewhat mobile units, at least in the case of Sirens. So you can use them somewhat independently out on the flanks to help clear enemy mobility, allow your Docker line to fire with impunity, and they definitely got some great work done. Likewise, Bob and the Skarsnik as well, and all the heroes kind of combining. But yeah, I've rambled on long enough. Let's go ahead and get to the next replay. Alright, this time we got Dance and Wurzag on foot against the Vampire Counts, which is potentially very, very risky. We've got Effigy to get, Fist of Gork and Brain Burster there to try and get some things done. Giant River Troll Hag with no spells, just Mither and the Rotting Stench for the melee attack debuff, and she's also got plenty of mass, right, to try and pin things in and, you know, do that sort of thing. We've got Bob, of course, for immune to Psychology and extra attack. Couple Stone Trolls again. The magic resistance here is a little pertinent, although I don't know that this is probably the one matchup where I don't know that Stone Trolls are automatic. A couple of Savage Orc Biggins. We got the Biggin Rogue Idol as well. Just wanted to test it out, see how it would do here. It also has that leadership buff map-wide, right? So that kind of helps synergize with Bob's AoE immune to Psych. And we've got a few Goblins just kind of supporting out in the periphery, even a unit of Goblin Wolf Rider Archers. As for the Vampire Counts, we've got Blood Dragon Vampire Lord here, a couple of Black Coaches, so definitely very wild there. Banshee, we've also got a White King, whole bunch of zombies, a Grave Guard, some Cairn Race, a couple Black Knights, some stuff. We're going to get a big pitched melee engagement right off the bat, though. Helm of Discord dropping in as the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord. Tries to get his stuff done. We also get a Fist of Gork, I believe, on something. I don't know exactly what that was cast on. One of these trolls, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but anyway, Blood Dragon's able to do quite a bit of damage, and more importantly, a nice rear charge here from these Black Knights, doing decent damage to the trolls. We'll be able to regenerate a lot of that, but a nice Scabberscrath from the White King as well, just wrecking those 8-peak loons. Meanwhile, over here, I'm getting kind of out of position with some of my Biggins. We'll be able to pull them back in just a second, but likewise, the Skirmish Cav, totally forgot to put them on Skirmish mode, and they are going to pay the price. We've got this big old scrum here in the center with these summoned zombies just getting absolutely pile-drived by all these units. Unfortunately, my Savage Orc Biggins already have taken quite a bit of free damage as well, so things already not looking good from the outset, but with this hero squad still intact and with the trolls relatively healthy, I'm pretty confident that we can still get some things done here. That Breath Attack being a mostly wild miss, it's nice for me. We're able to get up in here with the trolls and do a ton of damage to these Black Coaches. I really want to shut them down to make sure my infantry are somewhat safe. Here, these Black Knights are going to somewhat get involved with the Savage Orc Biggins, I think, maybe. Looks like I actually failed to issue an attack order there, and yeah. Tried to pull all these units back, but unfortunately it looks like the Savage Orc Biggins actually still had an attack order there. But here, The Blood Dragon tries to drop down, and Goon Wurzag, I still have enough of my forces left in this area that I could probably do just fine. I'm going to path all my trolls here and try and take out this White King. We'll see. He's going to be pretty tanky to all of that at the end of the day, and likewise, again, that does leave Wurzag a little bit exposed here. He's got Fists of Gork fighting this Banshee, but again, the Blood Dragon Lord drops down, gets a good attack on him. We're going to once again rally the trolls here and try and get in on the Blood Dragon, but he's doing a really good job. Hadriz is kind of cycle charging back and forth. Meanwhile, the Biggin, he's coming over to just step on this White King, it looks like. Yeah, he really should just step on the White King. And I'm kind of making a mistake here and blobbing up all of the trolls around the White King. You can see the Biggin's attack animations are actually kind of canceling out because the White King's getting knocked around so much, and he really can't get just a solid engagement on him. But here, Dragon makes a really risky dive. We're going to throw that effigy to the git and just get everything in support, including the Biggin. He might be able to get a few attacks on the Blood Dragon Lord here. So, yeah, trolls, the Troll Hag, Bob, everyone just doing their part to try and take out the Blood Dragon Lord. He is tanking the damage pretty well, but all the meantime, this Banshee's coming after Wurzag. I really wish Wurzag had magic attacks baseline, to be honest. I think that would actually be very helpful for the Greenskins in general, but he would lose to this Banshee probably, so I really don't want to stand and fight there. And unfortunately, it looks like my Troll's leadership is just about to give out here. The immune to psychology is helping, but just the fact they're completely surrounded here, these spears, they're kind of chipping away at them. And yeah, we get a bit of a brain burster there, but it miscasts and does quite a bit of damage to Wurzag. And with Wurzag being routed here and possibly even killed, that's going to be bad for me. I mean, I've still got the Biggin here. Pop that wall, maybe a little bit late, but Wurzag does get finished off by the Banshee, and you can see that immediately puts a giant dent in the balance of power. Yeah, Bob is on foot as well, which means he's subject to the White King's anti-infantry. I actually don't know who would win here in a vacuum. That might be an interesting test to run. I would imagine it would be Bob. I'm not 100% sure, though. But the Biggin's certainly trying to make his presence felt. Unfortunately, my army was just a little bit too narrow because of the Biggin. I do think, I mean, Foot Wurzag is going to be risky no matter what. I think I potentially had the tools to win here. I just maybe didn't play them the best. But the Biggin, you can see I've used very little of its ammunition, so I really haven't got much value from bringing the Regiment of Renown here. Like some other replays we've seen recently, a lot of people will take builds that already have a lot of immune to psychology, so you don't necessarily need to take Bob here. Some people would argue that having a Goblin Big Boss would be much better instead, because the They Need Stab and debuff is very pertinent against Vampire Count's characters, right? And again, Skarsnik here with a Bob Guard could also be very good, giving Skarsnik immune to psychology and all that jazz. But yeah, I definitely think that in a build like this, you'd want to take a Goblin Boss. I'm not sure. Again, I would probably just need to kind of retool entirely. But for this build, if you really want to take Dancing Wurzag on foot, I would definitely recommend taking a regular Rogue Idol, or maybe even the ROR Spider instead. That way you can go with a little bit wider of an army, just have more to chew on here. And yeah, you can see this is going to end up being a victory for Hadriz. So, fortunately, a little bit too narrow there. Bob did a pretty good job, though, all things considered. I mean, he allowed those Stone Trolls to not get terrified, and they at least stuck around for a pretty good amount of time. Got some XP chevronage. So, yeah, again, I think you just cut this Rogue Idol down to a regular Idol. Maybe bring a little bit more supporting elements, obviously not Miss Micro, and then maybe this build actually works out okay. And all things considered, I mean, we almost finished off that Blood Dragon Lord, right? So maybe a little bit of different RNG. We had been able to finish off that Blood Dragon, who is probably, I'm going to say, the most powerful Lord in the game. If we had been able to take him out, then that would be massive, right? And we definitely would have won. And even still, I mean, the fact that I didn't have any mass to tie up the what's it called? These guys, the Black Coaches, they ended up being a pretty big problem for me. But just at the end of the day, again, I think had I had a little bit more supporting elements, we might have been able to pull out a victory here. Yeah, Bob, pretty decent here. Although I think maybe you'd want to just bring Black Orcs and like Squiggle Hoppers and stuff that's immune to psychology anyway, but remains to be seen. I played this matchup a few times recently and watched some replays, but I do need to play some more. So we'll kind of table that for now, and let's get to the last Undead faction, the Tomb Kings. And now we're back to the Skarsnik Bob combo on foot together with the Stone Trolls again. A very, very strong combination, so you'll probably see this quite a bit. This time we've got a Night Goblin Shaman, a couple Savage Orcs, 8-peak Loons, front line of Gobos, a big Cav Force, Spider Riders, a couple of Shielded Boar Boys, Mangy Marauders as well, a Daka Line Orc Air Boys, 2 of them, and the Rusty Errors. As for Red Legion this time, he's got some Tomb Kings here. We've got a couple of Skeleton Horseman Archers, etc. Les Imperissables. I don't know if I'm even saying that right. On his kitty here, we've got a Necrotect as well, 2 Shabti, Chosen of the Gods, a Screaming Skull Catapult, very strong choice against the Greenskins, Skeleton Spears, Tomb Guard here, Kepper Guard, and Skeleton Warriors, more Skeleton Spears. So we're going to go ahead and push up in the front line, using these archers to screen out the Skeleton Horsemen. Definitely don't want to take this fight, even if they charge the Biggins. I mean, Biggins are good enough to beat them in melee, or the Orc Air Boys, rather, so I'm totally fine to take this engagement. But we do enough damage to this one unit of Skeleton Horsemen to actually start them crumbling, which is nice. Meanwhile, the Screaming Skull Catapult doing some solid damage to the Savage Orcs and the Goblins in the front line. It might even be able to rout those Goblins off before we get into combat, which would be nice. Meanwhile, Skeleton Horseman Archers, I'm not going to say they're wasting those shots into those Stone Trolls, but it is kind of wasted shots, considering their armor and missile resistance. In regeneration, they're going to take very little damage, feel very little effect. Chosen of the Gods, though, on the other hand, should be able to get some really nice damage done against, like, the Savage Orcs in particular. That catapult shot didn't do too much damage, but every little bit of damage helps against those Savage Orcs. Meanwhile, Boars and Mangy Marauders pushing up and around the side here. We're going to try and get the Boars into these Chosen of the Gods if we can. That's kind of the plan, at least. And yeah, meanwhile, the Trolls are just going to be sent into the front line. If we can all kind of YOLO rush all of this value, Bob, Skarsnik, and both of the Stone Trolls straight into the Kepper Guard and try and just bum rush them, take them out really quickly. They do have 48 melee defense, which is pretty good, but at the same time, only 50 armor, so like Bob even can trade really well against a lot of units. Tomb Kings, in fact, in general, they struggle against strong foot characters, foot melee characters. Gotrek tends to be really good in this matchup. Sigvald also can be, but even like Foot Archaon, for example, can be hard for the Tomb Kings to deal with. For whatever reason, they're not great against those foot-type lords, so it stands to reason that Bob would sort of fall into the same category. But YOLO charge from the Savage Orcs in here. They're going to very quickly get routed. Cetra comes in for a terror rout, but this is a pretty deep dive from Cetra, and he's going to get very well overextended here. You can see the Trolls actually charge the Kepper Guard, but that forms a block. And the dreaded fungi gonna hit Cetra the Imperishable. He tries to pull through, but Skarsnik's able to get a few attacks on him. Incantation of Desiccation did go off here, but Spite of the Bad Moon likewise giving more weapon damage and bonus versus large to the Stone Trolls, and all the Daka being poured into Cetra. Yeah, just one overextend against this kind of a force can take it. You can see, though, the Trolls, despite their immune to psychology, they do have still very poor leadership, and they end up just straight up routing here. And they've done their job, though, even just providing that mass for a little bit of time, just that very short amount of time to be able to finish off Cetra here. I mean, they did quite a bit of damage to him as well. Bob and Skarsnik administering the final blow, and that's going to be a pretty big dent to the Tomb Kings, obviously. It's maybe still possible for them to win, but for Undead especially, losing out on your leadership like that will force a lot of army-wide crumbling, which is maybe the one time you actually might notice crumbling. But while being popped now, we've got the Boar Biggins screened out by the Nekesh's Scorpion Legion here. I'm going to throw the Spider Riders back and try and bog down like the Horseman Archers, and just keep these Spearmen from being able to support as well. Maybe we can peel them out and get this Catapult also. For the time being, this backline presence is still kind of very stable. Likewise, the Shabti are fighting in the front line here. We're also going to get a Summon to Shabti as well, but the Stone Trolls are trading very well into them. And the fact that the Daka line can just continue to fire here. Oh man, the Stone Trolls are now surrounded. They're not going to like that in terms of their leadership. These Ushabti are just taking an absolute pounding, and a second group of Stone Trolls makes a double sandwich here on the Summon to Shabti. Of course, That extra melee attack from Bob certainly does help. Stone Trolls having additional weapon damage, and just everything about them makes them by far the best trolls in the game. So that's good. You can see the Kepler Guard somehow, though, still holding out despite everything here. And the Savage Orc Biggins and other units struggling to shut down this backline. At the very least, we're kind of contesting. But here, these Boar Biggins actually do... regular Boar Boys. Regular Boar Boys do get a good charge on those Chosen of the Gods. Likewise, these two Spider Riders should be able to come up and around and finish off that Screaming Skull. So we're just about done here. And yeah, even if Cetra hadn't overextended there, I still think he was going to have a pretty tough time against both Bob and Skarsnik as they stick together. The Trolls can fight as well. I mean, the Screaming Skull certainly is almost kind of a counter against the Trolls in a way because of the leadership effect. But unfortunately, it just wasn't quite enough at the end of the day there. That Fungi ability, I do think, needs its duration decreased. Something maybe like 20 seconds or so would be a lot better. But yeah, you gotta be aware of that certainly when you're playing against the Greenskins, and even just a short slip up can lead to yeah, problems. I don't know. This build for the Tomb Kings, I think, could generally struggle against mine. I don't know. We'd maybe have to replay it a few times to see if Cetra doesn't overextend how it turns out. But like on paper, there's really just not that many great tools for taking out Bob. Maybe if he fought the Kepler Guard one-on-one, or if he got like surrounded by Ushabti, he could get taken out there. But even still, Ushabti really have pretty poor stats. If we go ahead and have a look here, their melee attack and defense are just kind of bad, to be honest. If we go ahead and have a look here at the Tomb Kings, and we'll pull up for comparison so we can have a look at Bob here for the Greenskins. So yeah, having a look at Ushabti. Only 23 melee attack. They do have anti-infantry of 5, which isn't much to be honest, so they're only hitting at 28 melee attack, right? And considering Bob, we already saw, has a very high melee defense, 55 melee defense is very solid. Even on the Boar, it's the same, and on the Boar, you would even discount that bonus versus infantry, right? Because it would not apply. So then you're even looking at a worse melee attack situation. You're pretty close to minimum chance to hit then. Yeah, you are minimum chance to hit then with Ushabti. If he's on the Boar, if he's on foot, you're just barely above, like 10% chance to hit, maybe. So yeah, this is one of the reasons why Tomb Kings, they don't have really great answers to foot characters. I mean, like, Camarine War Sphinxes do okay, they have anti-infantry as well, but again, only 34 melee attack, 64 charge bonus is pretty solid, but oftentimes those foot characters, whoops, smack my mic real quick, will get knocked over on the charge anyway, so you won't really do that much damage, but the charge bonus at least helps quite a bit there as in comparison to the Ushabti. The Hero Titan doesn't have anti-infantry, but from what I found, its attack animations, and maybe because it's, you know, infantry speed as well, it just fights infantry lords a little bit better. Of course, it can be very risky to bring a big, slow monster against a heavy Daka faction like the Greenskins, so it's not really that great of an option. The Greenskins characters, Bob in particular, of course, has enough HP that Spirit Leech spamming him, and you're going to have to sink a lot of Winds of Magic to be able to take him out. I don't know if that will be worth it at the end of the day. So it's hard to say. It's kind of the Gotrek problem is what I like to call it, right? And certainly Bob falls into that category for the Tomb Kings. So in summary, I would say Bob's a solid choice against all of the Undead factions. I would call him maybe even meta against Tomb Kings and Vampire Coast. Still need to play it with him a bit more against the Counts and check out that matchup. But that's it for Bob for today. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.